Thank you. I'd like to call the meeting, the committee, of the whole meeting to order at 5:31 p.m. I'd like to call on Councillor Corn for land acknowledgement, please.
Yes, I'd like to acknowledge that the rural municipality of St. Andrews is located on Treaty 1 territory, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis. We respect the spirit and intent of treaties and treaty making and remain committed to working in partnership with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people in the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and collaboration.
Thank you. I should add Councillor Hunt is advised he's not present tonight. Has anybody heard from Councillor Monder?
No, I haven't.
So Councillor Monder is not present either. Adoption of the agenda, motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Could I have a mover, please? Deputy Mayor Dernbos, seconder. Councillor Sliker, all in favor? Carried. Next item, I welcome reception of delegations. Inspector Chris Lambert.
Thank you for having me. Any questions for the quarterly report before I get started?
No, thank you. It's a very good report. Thank you.
So as I mentioned earlier, the stats that you see in front of you, the numbers that you see in front of you are a little bit dated. We've had some recent developments with new members coming in. I think we have 2 of our outgoing members not accounted for, but we're anticipating some additional interdivisional transfers to take place in the next little while. And we had one of our new members start as recently as over the weekend. So we're closing the gap on our vacancies, anticipating that we're going to have a few members transfer to provincial teams. This is always in the flux, but we're very comfortable looking at the individuals for their capacity. With regards to the priorities, any questions about the priorities? I think that developed. I can say that even though our fiscal year and your fiscal year is somewhat different, as per the results of the most recent quarter, we are well on track to meeting our initiative goals for the end of the year. And in fact, one particular situation where these initiatives have come together to produce a pending result is dealing with an address in the St. Andrews area. So it's nice when the information comes together, and we hope to have some positive news on that one particular address fairly shortly.
When you were here last time, you mentioned there was one member hired to deal specifically with traffic.
Yes.
Is that why the stats are up this quarter, or is that starting yet?
No, actually, I don't think so. From my review of the stats today, yes, you see a significant uptick, but I think a lot of that is in reflection. We are from the detachment consistent. I think by and large, the uptick comes from the fact that our central traffic services was working in some areas that sort of border and within St. Andrews. That's what they do, is they rate tickets full time. So I saw a lot of Eastman traffic and central traffic services credited with a lot of these files, even though the tickets were written in St. Andrews. Mm-hmm. So that said, Constable Coates, who was our dedicated traffic member for the city of Selkirk, has left to do full-time traffic work. We've identified a new person coming in. He is a very productive police officer across the board. We've identified him to replace Constable Coates in that position. And we're also going to reassign him to a federal cost center, which means we're going to deploy him not just every once in a while to leave the city of Selkirk, but full-time as a rotation. So much more consistent representation out in our rural communities. So we're very optimistic of the results, not just for tickets enforcement, but just police officer presence.
Will that be in this quarter or next quarter?
It'll be as early as next quarter.
Okay.
I think we're going to have him in position very soon. As we get closer to Christmas, we've got a lot of our members going into the provincial units in around the Christmas time, which is pretty inconvenient for everybody involved. We are trying to time his insertion into the traffic services or the traffic unit position in around the time so it doesn't create too much of a gap with some of our members. We identified one of our members in our general investigation section was identified for one of these provincial positions. We've identified a member to backfill that position. That presents a gap so that we have time his departure into GIS around the time we're going to get his position on the watch backfilled. And it's the same thing for Constable Coates' traffic position. But it'll be in December, if not very early in the new year.
Okay.
Because you the stats in front of you, I noted upticks in 4 different categories. In addition to the that includes the traffic, and there's slight upticks, but they're significant offenses where those upticks, I would say, by extension, are significant in themselves. That being impaired driving, an uptick from 4 to 14, threats, an uptick from 4 to 7, and assaults, an uptick from 7 to 12. We did notice a bit of a downturn in suspicious vehicle from persons. Review of these calls show them spread fairly evenly throughout the RM. I didn't see any pattern that I could discern, other than the fact that we would encourage people know what's normal for their communities, normal for their streets, and if they see something that's out of sorts and outside the norm, that would warrant a call to our very least our non-emergency line to let us know. It could be more important than people think. Trust your instincts. So impaired operation of motor vehicles, after correction, we identified actually 15. 9 of those resulted in actual charges. Of those, 4 were the result of an unrelated collision. One of these had to do with a motorcycle. The rest of them had to do with we identified an impaired driver from other patrols. It's a traffic stop for some other traffic offense, speeding. And they're able to determine that the driver is impaired under conditions not to have any alcohol or something like that. Traffic already went into that. It's beneficial for our traffic initiative in the APP because we'll end up taking credit for those traffic stuff that's happening in our area, even though Central Traffic did it. Threats turned out to be 3 after correction, not the 7. We have 2 of them that resulted in charges, one of which was domestic violence. The other one was actually an assault on a police officer.
In Andy?
Yeah. It happens every once in a while. Sometimes it's the nature of our interaction with the public sometimes. It's unfortunate. Assaults found at 11 after correction, as opposed to 12. 3 of those were domestic violence related. 1 was identified as an assault on a minor. And 2 were just amongst family and friends. 6 of these resulted in 6 of the 11 resulted in charges. I guess lastly, draw your attention to one file that we feel might have an impact on public perception. We had 2 incidents where drivers were stopped on the highway by an individual that was portraying himself to be a police officer. We've identified the suspect in that matter through a variety of judicial authorizations. The totality of the other evidence gathered so far is up for Crown opinion. But we still feel that there's more work to be done on this. We are definitely keeping an eye on the individual. That's all I have for you today. Any questions?
Yeah, what we were just talking about there, was the vehicle that he was using to stop the other vehicles an actual police vehicle?
There were indications from both the complaints that the vehicle that was used was outfitted with a variety of lights,
Okay.
flashing lights.
Okay.
We did find some evidence to connect the individual with some similar items that had recently been dismantled or removed from a vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, the investigation is ongoing. It's the kind of situation where it falls between, we are quite confident that we know who we are or who we're dealing with, and that is consistent with the complaint. Then that falls a little short of our ability to charge in linking the event to the suspect. That's my phone.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
so, well,
That's cute. The loon.
like, well, where is it? As you know, we still get a lot of concerns speeding on River Road.
Speeding, still in.
Well,
And Highway 9. Specifically between, River Road and, say Hay or Lockport Road, there's a long straightaway there. All the way up to Harry's.
Councillor Murphy, I was included in the mail. There's between Mapleton Lane and, well, the Selkirk boundary to Lower Fort Garry.
Mhm.
And I also just heard from a resident, I don't know if they contacted by, Bridgie Good Bread and Bed and Breakfast. North of the turnoff to the, under the bridge.
Mhm.
Union Bridge. And if there's an 80-year-old senior couple, it's consistent weekends. He fills up with gas during the night, people come in. And all of them are having their gas tanks in. So I don't know, I told them, report it.
Yeah, and I think, I recently gave one of these presentations to the village of Denauder. I think the underlying message that I would consistently convey to, all the councils that we police, is encourage your constituents to report these things to the detachment. There could be the perception that it's a relatively minor thing in consideration of the grand scale of policing that we do, but that's not something that that's not a feeling that I would encourage. A lot of times that some of the crimes that were higher profile that we're trying to deal with are resolved by some more innocuous events. And that gets back to suspicious vehicles, those kind of things. I mean, that is what we do. That's the service that we're supposed to provide to the communities. If it's something that's concerning to constituents, please encourage them to report them directly to us so that we can resolve them in a timely manner. And if they have issues with them being resolved, then by all means, bring it up to my attention, and I will make sure that it's taken care of. It's always the balance of trying to deploy our resources the most efficiently possible, and a lot of that comes from the stats generated with first-hand reporting. So if we don't know about it, it's much more difficult for us to address the problem directly.
Thank you. Councillor.
Yes, just have one question. Do you keep any stats on St. Andrews Airport? The amount of theft that's going on there, auto theft, things like that?
I don't have them in front of me right now, but those are fairly easy to buy. There's, it's a zone I think that we can delineate fairly quickly with stats. And I know that we've had quite a few higher profile vehicle thefts that have happened out of there as of late. Vehicles that are, I guess, left not fully secure, I guess, for people to come off the aircraft or departures. It's also So it's a large area that's maybe few with a little bit more surveillance. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, if maybe we could add that on our.
Sure.
Thank you. Any other members of council, do you have any other questions? Well, thank you, Inspector Lambert.
Thank you for having me.
Very nice
again.
as usual. Nice to see you. Okay, next item is the management reports, the October monthly management report. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Counselor Schleifer?
I'm just curious, I saw, when I closed it, let me see. I saw on the Sims that supposed to audit 2022 and it was supposed to be here in June. So where are we at with that? I was just curious.
So the auditor is engaged. He has our working paper file, and he is working on it now.
And shouldn't he, 2022, shouldn't he have gotten that paperwork like beginning of 2023?
Well, there's a relationship with the last audit that was done and this audit. So we have to wait for one audit to be finished before we can start the next one. And there's interaction at the end of the audit that has an impact on the next set of working papers that go to the auditor. So there is some work that's done in advance, of course, but we also have to wait for them to finish for us to make the changes that we need to make to our records to align with their audit and then continue on.
So what kind of, do we have any idea, like, where they were gonna be 2 years behind now? But we're still out that gas tax money, correct?
No, we've received a large portion of the gas tax. So we received the 2022 funding that was being held and half of the 2023 funding.
How did we do that when I thought,
So that came when when the audit got filed. So when the audit got filed, it goes to the province, and then the province does their review, and then they release the funding.
even though we don't have the finished audit?
Well, to trigger the release of that funding, we did have the finished documentation.
We got it for 2021, we're still outstanding 2022, 2023.
We're outstanding the last half of 23 and 24.
I was sure you had said that we couldn't get it until our audit had been completed. I'm pretty sure you
Yeah.
said that just a little while ago, and you had told me that when I first came on council.
So the way the gas tax funding works is they release the funding when they get the audit. So there's always a
Completed audit, or so when they get the completed audit, is that correct?
Yeah, so there's always going to be a gap between when the audit is due and when the gas tax funding is released. And it's actually called CCBC now, so I should probably use the correct terminology. So there's always going to be a timing difference. Our audit, as an example, our audit for 2024, it's due after they start releasing the 2024 funding. So if our audit is submitted by the due date, we've already received some of the gas tax money for that year. So they don't hold it all back. They only hold back a portion. So with us submitting the audit for 2021, that triggered the release of all of the 2022 that was being held and a portion of 2023.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and then any other further questions? Counselor Slager?
I have one more, and I know he's not here, but, question for, I guess, Jordan, how close are we, like, are we close to naming a fire chief for the Glen Boyd Department, or I've had a few inquiries,
Who's inquired?
different people.
Okay. Oh.
I thought I read somewhere that
It's
he
in
was
his,
down.
it's in his report.
That's what I thought. But then,
I mean, they're evaluating, they've got an acting person in there right now.
okay, but I just did my due diligence, and I also sent an email asking for the bylaw report. The, service tracker numbers don't really do much for me. I would still like to request that we at least put the ward number of each, I don't want the address, I understand all that, but if we could put the ward.
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
fine,
they're
good.
working on that. It's,
Okay.
when Chris goes out and makes a call, he doesn't necessarily know what ward he's in. Right? We
Service
could,
tracker said.
we might be able to include, be easier to include the address
We can,
and just for the council unlock it.
because every service tracker has the ward number on it. Just sharing.
Council Peoplecorn?
I would imagine some of these are generated without a service tracker. If he gets a
Yeah.
direct phone call
Yeah.
or, okay.
You know, Councilor, I read that on here too.
So
about
did I.
The fire chief, for Clanabon Hall, or applications went out or something.
And it's not there now.
No, it's, I read it. I read
Thank
it
you,
this
because I
morning.
was just debating with.
So what's the issue?
It's not there now.
Okay.
That's okay. I knew I read it. Thank you.
No follow-up.
Any other further questions? There we go. It's under Deputy CAO report. Future activities, job posting, district fire chief.
I knew I read it somewhere. Sorry, Lisa.
So I can let you know that we do have it prepared. We're hoping to post it, but we're in a bit of a conundrum is that we separated the bylaw and policy. All of the kind of job description duties were originally in the bylaw. So we passed the new bylaw, but the policy hasn't been passed. So we don't have, I'm gonna have to likely amend the job description, or pardon me, amend the posting now to include the entire job description that's in the policy. Because we repealed the old one where we referenced, but we now no longer have that job description formalized in short term. So I'm trying to do a workaround that I'll just have a longer posting.
Okay, thank you. I knew I read it somewhere. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you for your management reports. 5.2, the council, October 2024 council indemnity report. Any questions or comments? Okay, 5.3, October 31st, 2024 financial statements. Any questions on the financials or on the summary report? I have one, Tim, so on the financial statements, under 5.3, where is it noted about the gas tax money? Under what line item is it?
Well, the gas tax shows as a revenue stream. So it would be identified. Let me just find the account number that it's listed on. It's account 10-0933. And that's for the current year.
For some reason, no, mine won't open up, but that's okay. So I'll look at it after. okay?
699,400.
Yes. Pardon?
$699,401.
Any further questions? Okay, no old business, new business, you know what, I just got the email, just responded, just for council's information. They have at the Old Stone Church in East Suffolk there. They have their Advent, Christmas Advent service. It's Friday, November 29th at 7:30 at night, and Saturday, November 30th at 4:30. They have the wood stoves going. If you want to bring the family, it's absolutely beautiful when they have this every year. We have no in-camera, camera, and therefore be it read. Right? Motion to adjourn the meeting at 5:56 PM. Could I have a Deputy Mayor Dornbos, seconder Councillor Sliker? All in favor? Carried. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.